Where has all the basing gone, you ask? Well, here it is. Hey guys, Jay here, welcome to Eons of Battle. Now, is it any secret that I love basing? I present to the jury Exhibit A, a playlist of 80, count 'em 80, basing videos. But I haven't gotten to do a lot of basing recently. What with all the other projects I've gotten up to, it's gotten away from me. But this video will make up for it all and then some. But I miss basing. I get to do it every now and again when I finish a model, but I haven't had a project where I really get to sink my teeth into basing. But I think I have the perfect opportunity to get some done. I've been saving up all my basing tokens to cash them in on this video. Let me introduce you to my Star Wars Legion army. What you see here is a full Star Wars Legion Rebel Alliance army. This is the equivalent of about a 1500 to 2000 point 40k army. It consists of a bunch of troops and a few vehicle options and a commander, and it has enough stuff where I can take a full force, and I even have a couple of options to switch in and out. Now, I bring up the 40k points equivalents because I want to do a little bit of comparison. I don't often like to do this, think about price, but it is for science. This army is a smattering of troops, elites, and vehicles, and it costs about $225.95 retail. Now, this is a full army, so let me introduce you to another full army. This is a 1500 point Space Marine Black Templar army. It consists of 43 miniatures, and also contains a selection of troops, elites, and vehicles. And if you remember that this army came in at about 210 bucks retail, what do you think this one's gonna cost? Well, I did the math. And this army retail would cost $510. That's right, this army costs 50% more than this army to put together. And they're very comparable armies for very fun war games. Now, it's not a perfect comparison because Star Wars Legion, I did use the starter box to put this together, and it does come with a lot of models for a good price, and I didn't use any of the start collecting boxes to put together this 40k army. But I don't think the price would have come down that dramatically if I did. Star Wars Legion is the clear winner on price, although it is completely subjective which models are cooler and more interesting to look at. Hint hint, Star Wars Legion's really fun. I have purposely saved all the bases so I could do them all at once. This should give me the best possible chance of them looking uniform. And I can do lots of operations that would take a lot of time to do over and over every time I finished a unit or model. But all at once, it's no big deal. Now, I agonized over what to do next. There are so many cool Star Wars locations, planets, biomes. How do I pick just one? Do I want a Technicolor dream like Felucia? Do I do a classic Hoth from Empire Strikes Back? Tatooine and its deserts are synonymous with Star Wars. And I could even do a lava world like Mustafar. Well, I decided to pick the perfect planet for the rebels, the famous forest moon of Endor that hid the shield generator for the second Death Star. Now, forest bases are tricky because it's not just sand and glue. I have to represent dirt, leaves, ground cover, trees, plants. Let's see what I can do with it. I also have a secret weapon, Ewoks. Nick printed me up a ton of Ewoks so that I could paint them up and sprinkle them throughout the bases. That way there is no way it'll not look like Endor. Now it's time to do some serious basing, and I'm super excited. I love my rebels. I got them done quick too. I painted my first rebel in June, and now it's October and I have finished an 800 point army. This is a basing video on steroids, and I need my tools. All right, it's time to get started, and I can't have my base as flat as a pancake. I need to apply a little bit of texture. Milliput is good stuff. It's a 2-part epoxy that dries rock hard. And these bases are tiny, hard to fit something like Crayola Model Magic soft squishy modeling material. And it's sticky enough to stick right down to the bases, no glue needed. I cut off the 2 equal halves and squished them together. Then I began making small balls and crushing them down onto the bases. A few dots here and there should make these bases look like irregular, natural ground instead of perfectly smooth parking lots like they were standing on before. And on these larger bases, I really loaded them up. These big bases gave me some room to explore. It would have been a huge pain in the butt to mix up Milliput every single time I finished a model, but doing it all at once is no big deal. It's a one and done. The Milliput has had a couple of hours to dry, and it actually looks kinda cool as is. Definitely not a final product, but it gets my basin juices flowing. But now it is time to add a little bit of decoration. To do the sand, I brought out my typical basing supplies, 3 grits of sand, and because this is a forest, some dry twigs. I began by squirting out some of my favorite sand sticker, wood glue. I took an old synthetic brush and spread it all over the base. Then I put on a twig, a pebble or two, a sprinkling of medium grit sand, and finally a dousing of fine grain sand. This will give my forest floor some texture. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. And now to do it on the other 35 minis. Oh my goodness, my desk is completely covered in sand, but it's already looking kinda neat, and I cannot wait for it to dry so I can start putting on a little bit of paint. For paint, I made myself 3 very watery colors, brown, light brown, and a light green. These will make up my forest floor. On each base, I did several large patches of light brown, some smaller patches of brown, and then some final touches of green. Remember to keep the paint really watery, but not too watery. If it's too watery, all the paint will not be very vibrant once it's dry. It's a little bit of a watercolor effect, working with 3 really runny paints at the same time. The colors want to blend themselves. But it is going to be ridiculous to try to wash this brush every single time between every single color on every single base. So I'm going to be working with 3 brushes at the exact same time. This again took a little while, but I was very satisfied with the results. Now I need to take a break while those colors dry, so it's Patreon time! If you like the videos we make and you want more, the best way to support us is by becoming a member of our Patreon. Over there, you'll gain access to some behind the scenes, voting on what models I paint live here on YouTube, a live hobby hangouts every week, some terrain STLs, and more. With that said, these bases still aren't dry, so it's Ewok time. These Ewoks are adorable, just like in the movie. I stuck them down to my preferred paint handles, little cubes of wood with double stick tape. I primed these suckers black and then gave them a zenithal so that painting would be a breeze. Now I have lots of teddy bears to paint, so I made use of lots of washes and contrast paints. It helped a lot. I used a different combination of my paints on each Care Bear and it did most of the work for me. I did not feel like highlighting and shading every teddygram, so I let the paint work its magic. These guys are great and they're bringing me right back to Star Wars Battlefront 2, the real Star Wars Battlefront 2 from 2005. In that game, the map Endor was probably one of the most difficult and the biggest map in the game. And it was almost impossible for the Empire to win that map because of the Ewoks. On that map, the rebels had the Ewok helpers, which was super cute and super thematic, but it made that map almost unplayable as the Empire because the horrible AI wouldn't know to aim a little bit down when firing at Ewoks, and so the Ewoks would just cut through your stormtroopers. And usually you were expected to be carrying your team, and so you should plan to get about 50% of your total team's kills. But on that map, to beat that map, you have to be getting like 75% of your team's kills. It is a wildly difficult map. I love it. And I'm enjoying painting these Ewoks. Then I did a little dry brushing over the contrast and my Ewoks were 80% done. The only real work I did on these Ewoks was painting their faces. I gave them all some whiskers, painted their lips and noses, and I painted all the eyes with some black paint. Every eye was black with a tiny reflective dot right in the middle. The dot of white helps them look watery. I have been painting Ewoks for hours, and I have just about finished all of their cold, dead, unblinking eyes. And now I can get back to what I really was trying to do, which was base my entire rebel army. I prepared some green stuff, squished the 2 halves together, and stuck some small balls under the feet of the Ewoks. I did this to make sure my furry friends would have lots of purchase on the sand-covered bases. The green stuff will squish into the sand and hold tight. I also used lots and lots of super glue. They worked out great on the big bases, and they worked on the small bases too. Before I had applied my Ewoks, I was pretty sure I was gonna hate it because it would cover up so much of my paint job, but now that they're on, I kinda love it. It is super silly, and even though they're a little bit cramped on the small bases, I kinda love it, and it makes my army very unique. Now that all my models are on their bases, I prepared some final decorations, some green flock. I took some dark green and hacked it apart. I want small little clumps. I dumped that into a cup and then did the same thing with some light green foam I had lying around. Then I took out my patented binder. I have a video on how it's made, but it's basically watery glue. I spread this all over every base and I gave them a sprinkling of foam chunks. Then after that, another drizzling of scale leaves. These will be what really makes my forest floor look like a forest floor. How many steps was this? Milliput, glue, sand, twigs, Ewoks, painting, more glue, tiny trees, green foam flock. I would not want to do this every time I finished a rebel, but all at once is fine. And just like that, my rebels are done. My rebel scum have landed on the forest moon of Endor. Look at this army. She may not look like much, but she's got it where it counts. All I can say is, it's pretty wizard. With my army now done, I can't wait to get these back on the gaming table. They may not always win, but never tell me the odds. They look so good. I've been staring at these guys and their unpainted red bases for too long. Now that the bases are done, I think that they look proper and finished. I was kind of worried about the Ewoks. They're pretty big, and I was thinking in the back of my mind that I might yank them off of the bases once this video was over. But now that I see them in place, I really like them. They're funny, and I think they add a lot. The Star Wars Rebel army might not be the most interesting army in Star Wars Legion. You got the white-clad stormtroopers, the cream-colored battle droids, the super cool clone legions, and then the rebels are just dudes in green, but I think they're really cool, and I think the Ewoks add a ton. I might need to get some more. And I might get my wish. The folks at Star Wars Legion have said that Ewoks will be coming to the game, and when they do, my army may become the Ewok and Rebel army. I will be sure to set my calendar and wait patiently for pre-order day. In 2023. Well, I'll have plenty of time to wait, and in the meantime, I might 3D print some more. Really fill up those bases. My Star Wars Legion army is now complete. When I started Legion, I was but a learner. Now I am the master. Now that I have this rebel stuff painted, I suppose I am done with Legion. I have a full force. Is Star Wars Legion the best game ever? I don't know, but it's pretty good. And now, my army is complete. It is time to move on to something else. What have I done? What have I gotten myself into? It's a trap! I know I haven't done many basing videos lately, and I think some Star Wars ones would be pretty cool. I have at least 3 more armies to build in Star Wars Legion, so let me know what Star Wars basing schemes or any basing schemes you'd like to see me do. Put those in the comments below, but now it's time for the real star of the show, this week's EOB Complete submissions. We put out a challenge to our community to send us before and after photos of their recently finished models to be immortalized in our videos. If you want to join in the fun, you can submit a before and after photo of your painted mini to our Discord server, which you can find in the description below, or you can post it to Instagram with the hashtag EOBComplete. Without further ado, let's look at and get inspired by what the folks have finished this week. A Blood Bowl Undead Team by Guerrilla, a Scorpek Destroyer Lord by Gremlins Eat 2, a Great Unclean One by Snickrot Boss, a Seroptech Heavy Construct by Cheggs.jpeg, an Orc Warrior by Emo Wing 666, some Iron Warrior Havocs by The Living Paint, a couple Russian Soldiers by Ed Scar, a Plague Drone of Nurgle by the Happy Heretic, some Veteran Guardsmen by Biscuit, an Ultramarine by Brood Lapin, a Salamander Space Marine by AOTL, a Nurgle Giraffe by Idit, a Break a Boss on Trogoth by Sheeple Master Overlord, a Space Shark Suppressor by Shark, some Necron Warriors by Monkey the Lobotomized Simon, a Xenomite Cerebnid by Squid Cultist 002, some Night Haunt by Who Knows, a Tau Riptide by Ao Omain, a Fallout Power Armor Pop Figure by Player Sionin, a custom Genestealer Locust by Coec 15324, an Assault Intercessor by Lookaz, a Malifaux Minion by Ret Baby, a Necron Hexmark Destroyer by Bredes, an Orc Truck by Happy Grimgore, and a Stormcast Eternal by Flamer31. Congratulations to everyone for a job well done. It's no small feat to get paint on minis, and you all should feel really proud. Nothing gets the hobby juices flowing like finishing a project, and we all thank you for sharing your work, motivating us and the hobby community to paint our plastic. Thanks for sharing.